You are watching Wajim News. Stay tuned for exclusive coverage of the 2017 presidential election.
I'm here with Griffin Cuomo, Democratic candidate for presidency, and we're going to have an interview. How are you today?
I am great. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. I appreciate you showing up. So my first question for you is just some overall goals for office. Like, what are you kind of hoping to achieve?
Well, I have a lot of goals in mind. I really plan to increase the availability of a higher education for many young kids throughout the country. A lot of kids feel that they can't afford or don't have the opportunity to go to college after they graduate from high school. And I feel that it's very important for kids to just know that there's an opportunity for them to pursue a higher education. So I plan to increase the amount of federal Pell Grants that are issued to students graduating high school. These are loans in a sense, but they don't have to be repaid at the end of their college endeavors, and it's a great way to help them pay for college that they're going to be doing. I also plan to keep abortion legal. That I feel that if it's her body, it's her choice, and that's all to be said about that. She makes the final decision, and yeah, that's mainly it.
The abortion question was actually another one I was going to ask you, so it's good that we got that out of the way. Another question I have for you is about the Second Amendment. Do you feel that citizens should be able to exercise their right to bear arms?
I do. I feel that citizens have the right, it's in the Constitution, to the right to bear arms, but I feel that we need to keep a tight regulation on what kind of firearms are out there, the magazine size, and whether it's automatic or semi-automatic. Again, every person has the right to bear arms, but we need to close loopholes on like background checks, people that are slipping through the cracks, and people who aren't fully there mentally are still able to access a weapon that can harm many people. And we also need to close the auction loophole where people are able to slip through background checks and just go to an auction and be able to buy a gun.
That's good. But do you think that there should be you mentioned briefly the weapon that people can have. You don't think people should have like heavy machinery?
I don't feel that it's necessary in this day and age with police and the way our military is formed. I feel that a person in the civilian world does not need to have a fully automatic weapon.
Makes sense. Do you think that military should be expanded or minimalized? Do you think it's good the way it is?
I think the military is just fine as it is. It is not on my immediate agenda to adjust our size of our military or how it works. I feel that we are a successful country, and a large part of that is due to our military, so I feel that we are okay on that front.
That's good. My next question is, how do you feel about healthcare and Obamacare specifically? Do you think it should be repealed or reformed in some way?
I do not feel that Obamacare should be repealed completely. I feel that it needs certain adjustments, but I feel that the base belief behind it in providing an affordable way for people to receive healthcare is a great idea.
Good. I have no further questions. Do you have any sort of statement you want to address to?
No, I just want people to know that I am going to be running for president for the people.
Good.
Making decisions for them.
It's nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Alicia. I'm here with independent candidate Corbin Williams, and we're going to have our interview. Thanks for showing up today.
Of course.
We appreciate you being here. Our first question is just overall, what are your goals for coming into office?
For coming into office, I want to make the size of the federal government smaller.
Mm-hmm.
That's my main goal. I want to give the rights back to the states, and I want to support constitutional rights of the people.
Constitutional rights of the people being, how do you feel about the Second Amendment? Do you think citizens should have the right to bear arms?
I support the Second Amendment. I believe it is their right to choose to have arms. But I also believe that there should be strict background checks for criminals. So I do not want to give guns in the hands of criminals. But I do support the right of the people to choose whether or not they want to have an assault rifle.
Do you think that there should be limitations on the size of weapon and magazine rounds that people are allowed to have in their home?
I do not. I believe the Second Amendment supports that.
All right, that's good. Other question is, how do you feel about the military? Do you think it should be expanded or minimalized?
I believe we should minimalize the military. I believe we should take it out of the foreign occupation that we're currently in.
Mm-hmm.
But I do not believe that we should cut down on the defense of the United States as a superpower. Because, of course, growing powers like Russia and China, we do not want to have any interactions with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe that we should cut the useless spending in places like the Middle East.
All right. Next question, how do you feel about abortion rights? Do you think women should have the right to choose?
I fully support the right to choose for abortions.
Yes.
It is the choice of the people whether or not they want to have an abortion, and I leave it to the states to choose whether or not those are illegal. But I also support people crossing state lines to have abortions too.
Yes. So, onto abortion, healthcare. Do you think that Obamacare should be repealed or reformed in some way?
I believe that Obamacare puts the burden of healthcare on the people instead of on the industry. So I believe that Obamacare should be reformed so that the health industry cannot charge as much for their services, so that the people don't all have to buy into it. I believe that as government, we should regulate the giant pharmaceutical business, and we should regulate the extreme prices in the pharmaceutical industry, I guess, so that the people can afford healthcare. Because Obamacare was in place because the people could not afford it as a whole. And I feel like if we do regulate that industry and their extreme prices, then we will be able to do that without having a system that unconstitutionally makes everyone pay into it.
Makes sense. So we're talking about prices, healthcare, that sort of thing. What is your take on the wage gap between men and women? Do you think that they should be paid equally?
I believe that they should be paid equally if they do the same amount of job, which I believe they do. So the wage gap, I think, is something that needs to go away, obviously because it's just immoral and bad for business. And I believe that women do just as good a job as men. But I do also believe that it is up to the employer whether or not they want to increase the wages or not. I am opinionated about it, but I will not enforce any regulations on it.
All right. I'm not sure that I have any other questions for you. Do you have any things, last minute comments, statements you want to make?
Vote for Corbin Williams.
Thank you. It was nice to meet
Of course,
you.
thank you.
I'm Alicia. I'm back again. This time we have Republican candidate Katie Wilson here for an interview. Hi, it's nice to meet you. How's your day?
It's great. It's nice to meet you too.
Thanks for being here.
I'm
We
so
appreciate
happy
it.
to be here.
My first question is just what are your overall goals for office?
Well, my first goal as president of the United States and Friday Harbor High School is to repeal Obamacare and replace it with my own new health program, which is going to be called Katie Care.
Katie here?
And it's going to have, we're not going to give anyone free insurance anymore, which is essentially what Obamacare is. And we're going to privatize. Everything's going to be privatized. It's going to be awesome. And then it's going to be really expensive. It's going to be great.
Okay. Well, that takes out two of our questions. My next question, talking about healthcare, that sort of thing, is how do you feel about abortion rights? Do you think women should have the right to an abortion?
I'm going to be honest, I don't. As a Christian woman, it is really hard for me to think of a mother murdering her child. Psalm 127, 3 says children are a gift from God, and it just would be really hard to just watch them be murdered.
How do you, what if a woman gets raped and do you think that
Well,
she should have to bear that?
I'm not saying rape is okay. I don't like rape. No one dislikes rape more than I do. But children are a gift. And I actually have many friends that have been children of rape, and they are gifts to their parents. They are loved, regardless of the unfortunate event that was their conception.
So you don't think that if a woman was raped, she should even then should not be allowed to have the right to an abortion?
No. And if she really does not want a child, there are plenty of great families out there that are unable to have children and would love to take them in.
Don't you think there's already a numerous amount of children that are in foster care?
Well, the foster care system is a little rough, and it's a long process to get a child, like to adopt them, and I think that is the main issue of that.
Do you have any plans to have maybe sort of help children come out of foster care into good homes?
Yes. I have a 5-step plan. It's a very large one. It's awesome.
All right.
Not ready to release the details of that yet, though.
All right.
Get back to it.
So we talked about abortion, we talked about health care. My next question is, as Second Amendment rights, do you think citizens should have the right to bear arms?
Of course, that is our right as American citizens in our Bill of Rights. Everyone should be able to own a gun if they so desire. I have grown up in a hunting household. My dad and my grandpa and the grandparents before it have all been just hunters, and we eat elk and duck and we go fishing, and that's just part of my life as an American, and I would hate to see that be taken away from
Do you
someone.
think that there should be limitations on the size of weapon and magazine and rounds that people are allowed to have in their homes?
No, once you start limiting it, you can just keep going further and further with the limitations, and it would just be better just to say, hey, you know what, it's your right. Our founding fathers who created this wonderful country decided that we as Americans should have the right to bear arms. And no matter what kind of arms that is, some people have military history, and so they're gonna want their AK-47s and their old pistols and whatever it is that they want. And some people are like my family, are gonna have hunting. They're gonna want shotguns and rifles. And
Absolutely.
some people are doing whatever they want to do with pistols. You know,
Yeah.
whatever you want to do, you should have the right to do that because that is our Second Amendment.
Right. So talking about people with history, military history, background, that sort of thing. What do you think people with mental illnesses and capabilities such as that? Do you think they should still be able to have the right to bear
Well,
arms?
I'm not one to discriminate against anyone. So if you want to have a gun, I think you should have the right to have a gun. If your family thinks that that's probably not the best for you, then they can put the limit on whether or not you're allowed to have a gun.
Okay.
But I don't think that that's my duty, especially since I don't know everyone. I can't just go, everyone with any disease should not have a gun because I don't know their case. I don't know
Makes
what they
sense.
do.
Absolutely. My next question for you is about the wage gap between men and women. Do you think that there should be a wage gap, or do you think that
Well-
they deserve to be paid equally?
There's probably a wage gap for a reason.
I think so.
Yeah. That's fine. And as a woman, I'm okay with that. I know that I am being paid what I deserve to be paid.
So if you were doing the same job as a man, the same thing, same hours, you would be okay with being paid less?
Yeah.
Interesting. Next question is your take on the military. Do you think it should be expanded, minimalized?
Oh, I think it should definitely be expanded.
Yes.
We are America. We need to be the strongest military force as we were before.
Mhm.
We have yet to lose a war. And we can't just start minimalizing it because what if something happens and we lose our undefeatedness? We're a strong country and we need to keep it that way.
Makes sense. I have no further questions. It was nice to meet you. Thank
It was
you for
wonderful
coming
meeting
out.
you too. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for tuning in to Wajim News for all the latest coverage on the 2017 presidential election. We hope to see you again soon.